Hi, and welcome to Mark's Motivational Podcast for another Authors Tuesday. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by another great author, Victoria Maldonado. So she's a professional author, writer, and editor. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Victoria today. Thanks so for joining me on the show today, Victoria.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you're very welcome along. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we might start the podcast off. If you wouldn't mind telling the listeners to talk about your author's journey as a professional writer and editor, please. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I've been in the writing and editing industry for probably 25 years or almost in different capacities. I've worked for companies doing all kinds of editing and writing, from magazines to catalogs to educational publishing. But since 2020, actually, I've basically become a freelancer. So I work for myself, and it's allowed me to do a lot of my own writing work, which is really cool. So I've basically done almost all my books since 2020 for that. But then I have continuous clients. I edit anything as small as a resume or a business bio for a book and help them get it published, to a dissertation for a college, or a doctorate or whatever degree they're doing. So yeah, I love doing both sides of it. And yeah, anything with words is basically my life. So I tend to do a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the writing part of it, like, have you always been a writer, or where did that journey start for you?
Yeah, I've always been a writer. And actually, I did my first book when I was 9. It was a school assignment. And funny enough, my daughter, who's 8, found my book somewhere here in my office. Wish I had it with me. I think it's up in her room. But she found the little book that I did, and she read it, with me, and she did most of it. And she's like, "Wow, mommy, this is really good. How are you my age in this?" And I'm like, "Okay." But it was a fun and inspirational project. They gave us these little hard books that we filled with our stories and did illustrations and the whole book shebang. And ever since then, I've been bit by the writing bug. I have always done it, casually, poetry and little short stories for a long time. And then I branched into novels. I still do a lot of short stories, and I also do children's books, which is so fun. I never thought I would do that. And actually, a friend of mine who lives in Romania said, "Why don't you try it?" And I did. And so now I do novels and children's books. And then I just do all kinds of publications for other people. So it's fun.
Yeah, very exciting work. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
suppose
it's
as
fun.
well.
I
Also,
enjoy it.
yeah, great stuff. And the editing part as well. Have you done that for a while? Is that a service you provide for people?
Yeah, I mean, I've done that for basic most of my career. I was a teacher for a little bit, but for the majority of my career, I've done editing, again, for different companies and different facets. But yeah, I just do that freelance now. So, I mean, basically, I just help people polish up their work to the next level. I'm really passionate about keeping the author's voice intact. That's really important to me, because I have a certain voice in my writing, but that's not always the writing voice that I'm working with. I'll just polish it up, make sure things connect. But I really like to maintain the writer's voice. I mean, I work with people all over the world, and different countries have different ways of speaking and viewing the world. So it's important not to Americanize that or, shift. It's always important to me to keep the cultural thing intact. I've traveled a lot, so I've been exposed to lots of different cultures, and so I really appreciate when if I go somewhere, I learn enough of the language or the local customs to not be an idiot American. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And you do a lot of your illustration work as well. This is
I don't
oh,
do
you
the
don't.
art.
Okay, oh,
I
you don't do the
wish.
art. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do little stick figure chicken scratch, and I
Okay.
give it to my wonderful artists.
Hmm.
I've had 3 different illustrators that I've worked with. These are the same up here,
Very
and
good.
then 2 different
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Now I do some digital stuff for my novels. but no, I wish I could draw. That is not a talent that I possess.
And how many no yeah, and how many novels have you done, Victoria?
I've done four so far. I've got these three and then another one. I don't know where it is, but
Great stuff.
yeah, I've got a new one that I just put out last year, and that's a beginning of a new series. So
Right, that's brilliant. Congratulations on that.
thanks.
Great stuff. Yeah, so like the next question I was going to ask you, can you tell the listeners about your trilogy of women's fiction?
Yeah.
It's called Your Heart's Down, is that correct?
It's Hearts Drawn Wild.
On Royal, excuse
So
me. Yeah.
yeah. So there, yeah, that's what's above me right here.
Mhm.
It's a three-part trilogy, obviously. But I basically it grew up with me. So it's kind of became a journey of self-discovery, but I mean it's fiction, but it's just different points in my life and the characters grow up throughout it. The first two books, which is In Death We Part and Running in the Mist, follows the same main character, who becomes a secondary character in the last one, um, which is about a woman named Elise. But Elise is mentioned in the first book, is a child in the second book, and then is an adult in the third book. So it's all kind of one big universe and family. But it's I specialize just by default. It just kind of happened naturally, but now I do it intentionally. I specialize in writing about women who go through extreme trauma and then come out of it and are able to see the good part of the experience and become the person they were supposed to be. And that's really important to me when I'm writing. And I've continued that, in a way in new series, which is called Hotel Brisas, and they take place in Mexico. So, but yeah, my first book takes place in Chicago, where I'm from the Chicago area,
Mhm.
and then it's also in New Mexico, so in the southern or the southwestern United States. So very very different pieces, and that her world gets flipped. And then the second one is mostly Chicago, but a little bit of northern Wisconsin, which is a very near and dear to where I grew up. I mean, I grew up in the Chicago, but traveled to Wisconsin a lot. It's not far. And then the third one is mostly takes place in Paris. I fell in love with Paris. I've traveled there a number of times, and it lended itself to be that way. So it's mostly in Paris and a little bit of the Loire Valley. But yeah, it's just I've I've been told by readers that my books are as much like a travel fun, like a fun travel experience
Mhm.
as much as the story,
Great.
because I research, I've been to these places,
Mm.
I really do my diligence to make sure it's accurate as possible, and it's really fun. But yeah, the women's journey is real important. Going into darkness, but seeing the light at the end of it. So yeah,
Yeah, that
it's
sounds
fun.
great. Yeah, so like it was fun, especially the third book. I say to research in Paris. I say that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
great
I
stuff.
love Paris. I mean, and I live near in the Chicago area, but I feel
Mm.
more comfortable getting around Paris than
Great.
Chicago.
Yeah,
So it's really fun. So
yeah,
it's fun like playing with all the bridges and the monuments and
yeah.
highlights that I really enjoyed when I was there. And yeah, so it brings this whole different element. And she's finding her family, she's discovering more about herself and, the traumas and all that thing. So, and that one's called Awake in Elysian Fields, because the Champs-Elysees is the big thoroughfare, and that's Elysian Fields. And then there's a whole metaphor on top of that.
Very clever. That's very clever. Well done. And did you get a publisher for these books? Is it a trilogy with a publisher? Was it?
Yeah, I had these three were through a publisher.
Yeah,
It's kind of a hybrid publisher. But since then I've chosen to self-publish going forward. There's more control.
yeah.
I can, do all of the things I need to do with it. And so yeah, I've chosen to break away from the publisher to go and do the rest of my books, which I'm planning another four novels. That's in my head, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, great. That's great. Thank you. And are where can people get them in Amazon and Barnes and Noble?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all over Amazon, Barnes and Noble, also on a site called Author Spots, which I think we'll talk about later. But yeah, any of the portals, they're ebook and they're also in print. And so yeah, they're accessible kind of all over the place. So
Well, I'm going to share the links for everybody that's listening and watching on YouTube as well
awesome.
for you, Victoria. That's great. So,
Yeah.
can I just ask you as well, would you like to talk about your editing company as well, for people who are listening that would like to contact you, please?
My editing company is called Victorious Editing Services. And that's a twofold thing because we're victorious when we finish a project, but Victorious was also a nickname that my husband called me when we first started dating. So it's kind of funny. Um, yeah, but I mean, really, I will do editing and kind of massaging of text for anybody. I don't choose to ghostwrite because I'm so interested in voice. I would prefer the author own that content and bring that content to be. And so I do everything from a slight developmental editing to line editing to copy editing and all of the fine tuning that goes along with the actual production of the book. And so I've done children's books, I've done adult fiction, I've done, young adult fiction, I've done self-help books, a lot of novels. I like the nonfiction as much as anything. I just did a book on hospice treatment. It's not a field that I have any knowledge of. And so, but it was this nurse who wanted to publish a book. And so I said, well, I don't know anything about the topic, so I'd be reading it, mostly for, the grammar and all that, the organization and that kind of thing. Much just editing it. And then when she saw the edited version, she was like, wow, you made me sound like I knew what I was talking about. I'm like, well, cool. That's
Brilliant.
much that's my goal. Yeah, because but for me, it's not so important being the content as expert. I'm the word expert. I'm the letter, the sentence, the syntax, the presentation, the structure. I mean, like I said, I worked in educational publishing for quite some time, and that was all about organization of the text. So I bring that to my self-help and nonfiction books. I also did a book that was an educator's kind of love letter to the underpopulations in his. So that was kind of interesting. So I brought in my education expertise or background. So really, I love to just use my skills as an editor and writer, because I'm on both sides of that coin, to really polish up everyone's things and make their stuff shine. And then I can format it and turn it into an actual publishable manuscript, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great, Victoria. Well
Yeah.
done. And would you not edit your own work, or is that something you do yourself, or would you not do that yourself or get somebody else to do that for you? Being an editor
Well,
yourself?
it's a different if it's a different yeah, it's a different kind of animal. I do a lot of the editing myself, but I always have a few people to come in and read it because you always get too close to it and you're never sure. But yeah, as an editor, I always have some people pass through it. But I do because I'm so detail oriented, I tend to catch most of the things myself, and then it'll be like, four things in a 700-page manuscript, that somebody else so, but yeah, I like to have super duper control, but absolutely you need somebody else's eyes on your work, no matter what you think, because maybe there's a turn of phrase that just isn't what you really think it is. So all those weird things like for many years I thought the phrase was intensive purposes, but it apparently is intense and purposes. And so, never sure, do you know it right? Do you not know it right? So yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Definitely good to have somebody else's eyes on it. Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, because being an editor, like your own work, you rather get somebody else to have a look at it. Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah, always,
yeah.
always.
And where can people avail of your services as an editor, Victoria?
All my books and my editing services is www.victoriajhyla.com. And there's a page on there that has a section for the editing services, and you can see what I've done, all the examples of things I've done, and then reach out. reach out for if you have something.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much for sharing that, because I'm going to put all your links on the show notes for people to find as well. So that's brilliant. Thank you for that, Victoria. And can I just ask you as well, what was your biggest success in your work so far? And how did you do it? Just for giving people a bit of a understanding of that would be great, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't define success in maybe number of books sold. I like to define success in just what has brought me peace and happiness about it. Um, for many, many years, like I said, I published this one in 2011 and this one in 2013. So for many years, I had a blank white spot right here. So it was just, I had the frame and I had the two books and a blank white spot. And so I, through life changes and I moves and all the things, I put off writing the third book for probably about 6 years. And so really completing this epic journey that kind of mirrored the stages of my own life, that was a really cool achievement. And now I'm starting a new series. As I said, the first book is Rooted Hearts, and it's in a series that takes place in Mexico. But that's a whole new journey or a new chapter of my life. But yeah, so for me, accomplishing any project is a really huge success. But yeah, completing the trilogy was just, oh, I can let go of these characters finally, which is kind of neat. But and then really branching out into children's books was a huge success for me, and I found so much popularity. I mean, my children are in elementary school, in primary school, and so that's the kind of the genre I'm writing right now. It's books that it's good for them. Maybe once they're in higher grades, maybe I'll kind of elevate what I do. I've never tried middle grade fiction, so maybe that's a new adventure. But yeah, my first children's book was Bartleby the Brave, and it's about this sparrow who just wants to watch his favorite bird competition. It's like the Bird Cup, and it's just birds dive bombing cars and doing tricks,
Yeah.
as birds do. And but it's about him being bullied, but then not neither like kind of on himself, but also the bully gets in trouble and then he saves the bully without a second thought. So it's really dealing and bravery and being kind.
Mm.
So I like to do social emotional with the kids books, and I've always used animals. I
Mhm.
don't know why I've done that, but I just prefer to I like to go through the animals. And then yeah, I've got a second one in that series which just came out recently, and it's humble. So this one's about humility and sibling relations and peer pressure. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I
great
really
stuff.
like it.
Yeah, they look great. They look really good. I suppose what I
Thank you.
really meant was as well, Victoria. Do you kind of have goal orientated, or how could I put it? Would you kind of have the journey? Would you like prefer the journey rather than the actual goal? Is that something?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I with each book, the goal is to get it done, which all that. But I much more reward in the actual journey of it,
Mm.
like you're saying.
Yeah.
The writing process, every book is a different exploration and discovery of myself and what I can do. So I really love the process. Yes, the end product is fantastic. The goal is fantastic,
Yeah.
but really taking that time to experience your through how you're getting to that goal. I mean, yeah, the end book is cool,
Mm.
but I like my journey in starting children's books was a completely different animal than writing novels. It is nowhere, not even in the same realm. And so learning that process, getting comfortable with talking with an illustrator, finding illustrators that I love to work with, um it's about relations, it's about finding the pictures in your head, getting them out onto the page accurately or as close to as possible. I mean, like I said, my artistry is chicken scratch and stick figures. And I always wonder why my illustrators don't just laugh out loud when I send them the storyboards. I would. Yeah, but the journey is so much more important, and that's kind of where I go in the content of my novel books is being on that journey and seeing where it takes you. Because you
Yeah,
don't have to count yourself out in case if you've had dark. um,
yeah, no, that
mhm.
that that makes so much sense because if you're kind of on a process, you're always going towards the stuff you want, aren't you? Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
always got new stories
yeah,
brewing. I have to write a
exactly.
couple of
Yeah,
short stories this
yeah.
year and work on a new novel and
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because you mentioned on your bio as well. It's a really good bio you sent me. You showed me a few of your children's books there. Would you mind
Mhm.
like to mention them all for the people who are listening and watching? If you have a list of them there, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bartleby the Brave is the first one I did, and like I said, I just did the sequel, which is Hugo the Humble. And this is Bartleby's grandson, and so it's Bartleby is still a character in it, and he comes back in the book as the grandpa, you know. And so, and then there's going to be other books about his sisters. So it's kind of this whole universe of this bird community, and they're learning different lessons. And then my second one was Tears for the Butterfly, which was a different artist. It's all watercolors. And the Tears for the Butterfly is about how if you put love, compassion, and empathy out into the world, it comes back in like 10,000 times more. And it also kind of deals with nature and the point of death, like death is a part of life, because butterflies don't live very long. So, and I'm really specific about the science in my books because some parent somewhere is going to be like, that doesn't make sense. So I've taken pains to make sure all the birds in my books could live in the same area. All the animals in the butterfly book, there's a crocodile, there's some birds, there's a turtle, and these butterflies. They can all live in the same area in Florida, actually. So I'm very specific with that. And then I did a departure that was very humorous. It's called Monstery Donstery Doc. It is a spoof on Hickory Dickory Dock, but
Very
it's
cool.
all mouse monsters, and they're all the classic like ghost, vampire, skeleton, the blob, and it goes up to the Kraken. But it's all these mouse monsters kind of messing around this clock and doing different funny things. The funniness of that is in the illustrations, but I had a thick hand in describing what I wanted. So it's part of the writing. And then I had Tempest the turtle, which is over here, which was actually inspired by my daughter. She said, "Mommy, write a book about a turtle who finds friends." And so it came into this, and this turtle named Tempest doesn't have any patience, and goes on an adventure to find friends that she could have avoided if she had just waited and trusted in her friends. But it's fun, but I always have like a harrowing moment, like in Bartleby, a bird gets hit by a car but it doesn't die, but just gets injured. Like in the Tempest the turtle falls off a shelf at one point, so oh my god. In Hugo, there's an owl that very well may eat the birds because owls eat sparrows. And so I like to bring those real dramatic moments in
Mm,
kids. I don't think you should write down to children. Children understand things, and if you present things to them, they'll rise to the understanding. So yeah, I never dumb down my stories to the kids. I really enjoy exposing them to some, like, life has drama,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So make it a fun story, an adventure story that they can also like. Oh my goodness, they're really in trouble. So it's fun.
Yeah, they sound like very kind of educational for
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, great stuff. And what age group would you say your children's books are range from?
Probably, like you can, as a read aloud, they're really good. So you could go as low as 3 or 4 for read aloud purposes. I write in a rhyming scheme and a very, not, it's not strict iambic pentameter, but it holds to that. So you could read aloud as 3 or 4, but older kids up to 8, 9, and 10 would still access the concepts really well. Like I said, the Hugo the Humble one is about peer pressure and being a good brother or sister to younger siblings, and trusting in family. So there's a lot of upper concepts, but the pictures and the fun of the birds, reaches the younger kids. So
Yeah. That's great. And would you be happy to maybe read out a section of that book there just for people that are
yeah, sure.
listening, please?
Yeah, I've got
Victoria?
the new one. I'll just do the first couple pages if that works.
Yeah.
Easiest. So it says, "Was good at most everything, swooping, dip diving, and taking to wing. He was great at all sports and top notch in school. Always good for a laugh. His friends thought him cool. One little thing that could darken his day was when his little twin sisters got in his way. At home, he would play with them as they wished, but at school with his friends, they did not exist." So you've got the dynamics of the siblings. And then one day, as his friends all got ready to fly, his little sis Ivy stopped him with her cry, "Hugo, big brother, come play with us. It's your turn to pour acorn tea for Gus." "A tea party," all his friends jeered and laughed. "Ivy, go home, take Genevieve and Scram." His sisters wore pouts and soon went on their way as Hugo and friends flew off to go play. So you've got the sibling dynamics, you've got the friends, the peer pressure, and then he gets in trouble with his mom and goes to his grandpa for advice. So it's just, I like to put real people relations and emotions in the book, and it's fun to listen to, I think.
Yeah. That's great, yeah, because the illustrations go so well. Like they're really good.
Oh
I
yeah.
just looked at the
Yeah,
illustrations there.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's full
yeah,
full color and
yeah.
fun.
Great stuff. Yeah. It's great
And
when you
then
kind of
yeah, go
oh
ahead.
sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's great when you kind of meet an illustrator that understands you,
Hmm.
isn't it? Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah, and the illustrator for this one is a man named Ronald Botts. He lives in Texas. And when I first found him, he had contributed some art anthology I was putting together for a friend of mine who passed from suicide. So kind of on my editing side, and I was getting artists to donate their art to put in the book. And but he just drew these beautiful birds, and I had this idea for the bird books, and I'm like, by chance, would you be interested in trying illustration? He's like, oh my God, that's my dream. I've always wanted to be an illustrator. And now we've done three books to no four three yeah 3 books together, and we'll do more for sure. And I've coached him along to illustrate for some other authors as well. So yeah.
Great. That's brilliant. And did you ever think of doing an audio books of your children's books? Is that something you're interested in or
A few of them are on different platforms. Um, they're all on my website, the ones that are. I know for sure Bartleby the Brave is, and maybe some of the other ones. I'd have to go back and look, but a few of them are. But I would love to have more of them done. I mean, I can certainly do it, but I haven't yet.
right? No, well done. That's a great idea because they're very popular audiobooks, for the kids listening in
Mhm.
the car. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Great. And how did you do that as a
Yeah, I do a
matter of
lot of read
interest?
alouds at schools and stuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
great. Oh, I'm sorry. How did you, matter of interest, how did you do that with the audiobooks for people that are listening who are authors who are interested in getting their books into audio, please?
Yeah, the one that I can remember specifically, I think it's an organization called Bedtime Stories or Breakfast Time Stories. I wish I knew. Again, it's on my website. Um, but yeah, I just kind of reached out, and it's not really a podcast. They simply just read aloud the books for people. But it was a minimal fee, maybe like $20, $30, nothing, just to get them to produce it. And then you have that recording to share around, and to sometimes the audiobook places pick it up. It depends on what happens with that. But yeah, no, it's really good. And if you don't personally want to be the reader, you just kind of have to search around. Some of them aren't reputable, but then a few are, and so you just gotta look around. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great, Victoria. Thanks a lot for sharing that for people that are listening and watching on YouTube. That's brilliant. Thanks so much.
Mhm,
And so you mentioned earlier about author spots. Would you
mhm.
mind just giving the information for people that are listening, please, Victoria? Would be great.
Yeah, Author Spots is a really interesting website. It's been around for almost 2 years, and it's still getting the word out. But it's www.authorspots with an s.com. And to all people all over the world. We've had authors in Australia, we have authors all over the US. We're looking for authors in various countries in Europe. And it, you can sell online, but you also get to interact with your customers. And unlike going through Amazon or some of the bigger places, which take a bunch of the cut of your profit, with author spots, you literally get 100% of your sales. So, and you get them almost immediately. The other sites, you get them maybe quarterly, maybe monthly, depending on how you have it set up. But author spots, you're actually able to get all your profits, and you can deliver signed books to people. So you can sell them all over the world. You can, I mean, you have to deal with shipping, but there's shipping built into the website. And basically, the website, you get to put up all your books. There's no limit to how many books you can put on there. You can do pre-sales, pre-orders. You can sell digital copies. You go down there. There's really no limit to the functionality. And like all my books are up there, and I have my own author page. It has my author logo. I have a big banner that has all my books on it. And then people both locally all over the country and all over the world can buy it directly from me, which is kind of neat. So because I like to see when people are buying it, it's one thing if people can download the ebooks, great, they're reading it, so cool.
Yeah.
But I like to sell directly to people because then I like to be able to reach out like, how did you like it? Or that kind of thing. So it's more personal. But the website is super robust. It's very polished, and it's got very good like customer service. If you have any issues, people are right there to help you out with it. I always include that in all of my marketing, and I direct people to there. And it's not really about getting more money, but I mean that's an added bonus. But it allows me to sell people the books at the price that I want to. Because if you sell it on, say, Amazon or something, they're going to jack up the price a
Yeah.
lot. So people can get like a non-author signed copy from Amazon. So, but I still make more, and they pay less. So it's kind of a win-win situation. But yeah, no, I find author spots to be wonderful. And I really want all authors to be able to benefit from that. You do have to have a stock of books in your house, but I always do. So
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't seem
No,
like a hardship.
yeah, that sounds amazing. And is it great? And is it kind of difficult for people who are listening to sign up to it? It's just something you sign up on online, is it?
Yeah, it's something online, and it's simply the only thing you pay in is a monthly fee for the maintenance of the website. So I think it's 19.99 US a month. But if you sell one or two books, you've already made that money back, and then it's all profit from there. So it works as much as you market it. So if you share the site, people are going to go there. And what also works is that when I the site, I promote those books because by promoting them, I'm promoting the site, and then people drive traffic to my own page. So it's kind of a community. But yeah, it's only $19.99 a month, and there is no other catch on it. You can cancel anytime. There's no contracts. There's nothing. Yeah, for that much, we wanted to keep it low because it's for independent authors. It's for the authors that don't get those giant marketing campaigns through the giant publisher. Like they don't need us. It's for the little people. And it's available. And I'm blanking on all the countries at the moment, but I can find it out for you. And but yeah, no, it's super accessible, and the website does the currency differences and all the things. So it's really fun.
That sounds brilliant. Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that. And I'll put that up
Mm-hmm.
on the. I'm going to put your website and all your information up on the show notes as well for people to check out. So make sure you check all Victoria's stuff out. So
Yeah.
that's great. Just one more question as well. You did mention what you're working on other novels at the moment. So what's next for yourself, Victoria? And anything you
Yeah.
want to promote that you're doing that people can check out?
Yeah. I've got a few things going on right now. I'm working on the second book in my Hotel Brisa series. It's called Planted Souls. Not sure when that one's going to come out. I'm sketching it out right now, so it's the second one to the new book in my new series. And then I'm also, I think I mentioned I'm going to do two more in this series, Hugo the Humble. It's called God, Genevieve the Generous and Ivy the I like the alliteration. What is Ivy? Ivy, I forget what Ivy is, but the two little sisters of Hugo, they're getting their own books. And so all the other characters will come in. And I also have a short story coming out. I like to write kind of romance in different genres sometimes. So I have an academy. It's called At the Academy. And it's basically a magical school. It's not like Harry Potter magic, but in the anthology, all the stories have to do mysticism, if it's whatever it is. But I have somebody who can wield the power of the wind, and so it's her journey and discovery of herself and her powers. And then there's romance in there. And then I actually have to do an alien sci-fi romance. Sounds weird. It's not typically what I do, but I like to stretch my skills. I just did a Greek gods one. I did one that had to have a police officer characters, some apocalyptic. I mean, whatever. I like to just stretch my writing skills and dive into little things, and that's where short story and anthologies really come in handy. And for aspiring writers, that's a great way to get started. It's a short piece. They kind of give you some guidelines on what to write about, and then you just kind of get to explore your writing, and then people get to know who you are. So when you do publish bigger works, they know kind of what to expect.
No, great. Anthologies are great. Like, do you do that in a writers group yourself, Victoria? Is that something you do?
What I'm sorry, I missed the question.
You were saying in your bio that you do anthologies.
Yeah.
Is do you do that with in a writers group yourself? Is that something you?
It's not really writers groups. They're just, if you search online, I do it a lot through Facebook, but just online, you can search anthologies that want a specific kind of story. So I've got some of these romance anthologies where they all have to do with that romantic twist and genre, but then there's different themes. So I've done kind of magical. There's one called the Storybook Pub. It's a magical pub that's all over the world all at once with a bartender who is always there. But then in every story has the pub and the bartender, but then the characters are different in every story. I've done romantic comedy. Yeah, so go out there and really find it. Like I even did a horror story because that was an anthology that I was like, oh, I could do that. So that is a great way for writers to get themselves going and
Mm-hmm.
started, or even just to promote their other work. I mean, I had novels before I started doing anthology things, but I used it as a platform to get my name out there. So you can go both ways or do a mix. But yeah, anthologies are really fun because they're shorter pieces. Some of them are really short, like 8,000 words or 10,000 words, and some of them have a minimum of 15,000 words up to 35 or something. So it really depends on the company that's running them. But yeah, it's just they're out there. You just gotta find them.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Victoria. I wish you all the success going forward, everything you do, because I love your wall of frame there. It's great. It's really cool. Yeah. So, is there anything else I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with the listeners today and the people watching on YouTube?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty much what I do, and I love, writing, and I love reading, and I love when people read my things because as a writer, your writing is just words on a page until there's a reader to read it. And so that it's a really symbiotic relationship to come through, and whether it's a kid, whether it's a mom, whether it's whoever's reading the books, until you get that interaction, it's just ink on in paper. So we love readers. We
Yeah.
love anybody who's willing to take a little snip of our experience and add it to their own. And so That's kind of why I do it. I liked that human connection and sharing my perspective and then seeing what resonates with other people. Because you never know. You never know what they're gonna take from what you do. So it's fun to experiment and explore.
No, your work is amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, Victoria. So everybody, make sure you check out Victoria's work. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Maldonado. Sorry,
Sorry,
yeah,
Victoria Maldonado. Yeah.
Maldonado. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so thanks a lot for coming on, and I really appreciate it, and all the best in the future.
All right.
Okay, so a big
Thank you
thank you.
very much.
Thank you. So thanks everyone for checking out Mark's motivational podcast for another Authors Tuesday, and make sure you check out the show notes for this episode. I'll be sharing all Victoria's links to on them the show notes. So thanks again for listening, and join me next time for Mark's motivational podcast. Take care. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Mark here. Thank you for watching another episode of my Authors Tuesday podcast. I recently published a book of children's stories called The Adventures of Larry Lamppost and Friends. The book began life as bedtime stories I wrote for my own children. If you'd like to purchase my book, follow the link in the description box below. By buying my book, you are also supporting my podcast series for authors, which is giving a voice to writers in Ireland and across the world.